I flew in yesterday from Australia and just here for the day, leave this evening. So it's quite a visit, but looking forward to sharing it. It's always difficult to, I suppose, try and cater for a whole range of levels of coaches and not knowing exactly the levels. What I thought I'd do is give a little bit of an introduction about some of my philosophies as a coach, and then progress through to some of the things that I've found have been important for our team, the team that I coach, and that's the Australian women's team, the Hockey Roos. For those of you who don't know me, my background is I played for Australia for 8 years, from '97 until 2004. Went to the Sydney Olympics, won a bronze medal there. Went to 2 World Cups in '98 and 2002. From there I moved to Belgium. I played in Belgium from 2004 until 2007. And at that moment I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to coach the Belgian men's team. I'd been doing some coaching in a club there, and I'd coached the under-18 women's team from Belgium, and somehow made a jump from the under-18 women's team to the men's side. Coached that team for 6 weeks, and we qualified for the Olympics in Beijing. That was the first time Belgium had qualified for the Olympic Games in 32 years. We did so by beating Germany, who were the world champions at that moment, in the bronze medal match at the European Cup in 2007. So it was a pretty exciting moment, and I would say still to this day one of the more exciting moments that I've had as a coach. It was a pretty special occasion to win. There was only 3 seconds on the clock when we scored to win the game 4-3. I think we might have had about 4 shots on goal that match, and we won 4-3 against the Germans. Always nice to knock them off. From there I went to Beijing with that group. We came 9th. I continued coaching that team for a number of years, then applied for the Australian women's team in late 2010 and got that role. Took them to London, became 5th. We were ranked number 7 in the world at that stage, and whilst 5th was above our ranking and where we thought we sat in the world at that time, and we were quite happy with that result. In Australia, 5th is a pretty dismal effort. Once again, we didn't win a medal. There had been 3 Olympics in a row that we hadn't won a medal, and so the pressure was on. Since London, we've played in 9 major tournaments. We've made the final in all 9. We won a silver medal at the World Cup, silver at the World League finals in Argentina. Just recently played the semi-finals in Belgium and won bronze in that, but we've got the final to come in Argentina, so hopefully we can keep our final record intact. So the team's on the onward and up. And what I thought this morning I'd do is just talk to you a little bit about my philosophies as a coach, and I'll just take you through some of the things that I think are important, and then as we go, we might be able to have some questions or expand if you think that part is interesting. So as a coach, you need to have a good vision, and you want to be able to explain to your team how you want the game to be played. So pretty basic. How do you want the game to be played? Not what does the other team do, let's come up with a tactic, and next week what does the other team do? How do you want the game to be played? What's your vision? And it can be anything. Through your experience as a coach, as a player, you can come up with that vision and you can lead your team in that direction. What do you expect from your players? Is it clear? Something that I think a lot of coaches don't actually spell out from the beginning. Does everyone have to come to all the trainings? Can you miss some? Can you come sometimes? Is it okay if you just come to the games? When you're at training, how do you warm up? How do you do exercises? What's the expectation of bringing gear out, backing it up? All of those things need to be covered right from the beginning. In Australia at least, culture is a big word that's bandied about a lot with sporting teams. Don't know if it is here in England, so people are always talking about the culture of this team's excellent. A team that just won the Australian Football League title this year, the Hawks. Everyone's talking about the Hawks. They have a brilliant culture. And for me, I think culture boils down to how do you want your team to be recognised? It's a good question to ask your team. How do you want your team to be recognised? If somebody came to watch your team play, what would be the words that they describe, or how would they describe your team? That's something we did with the Hockey Roos. We said, if they come to watch Hockey Roos, how are they going to describe you? And in the beginning, it probably showed where our team was. They used words like tough, mongrel, put our body on the line, you know, courageous, all of those things. And you need all of those things if you're going to be successful, but is that going to win you a gold medal? Is that going to make you the best team in the world or the best team in your league? In our case, as coaches, we also did the exercise. I wanted my team to be professional, uncompromising. I want them to be skillful. I want a real element of wow and be able to do things that other teams couldn't do. And that needs to be important to not only you, but also your players. And for me, that's what culture is. And if culture is important in building how you want your team to be recognised, are you using that language over and over? That's a little bit American, you know, using that language over and over. But if you start doing it, then it starts infiltrating the way that you do it. And I look at even the team GB at the moment, and they're always talking about the legacy that they want to leave. And so it's very clear that their culture at the moment is about having a higher purpose, something that's a little bit bigger than just this team at the moment having success in Rio. It's about having a program that will be able to develop players that will be able to be successful in the future and have sustainable success. And that legacy for them is really important because every time a girl's interviewed, they talk about legacy. And so that's something that's ingrained in them, and you want to ingrain that in any team that you have, things that are important to you. And it could just mean that you want your team to be united as one. So we warm up together, we go on the pitch together, we have our uniforms together, we present ourselves as being professional, we warm up well, we train well, we do that together. And then you start to build something and you get players that start to buy into it as well. It is really important that you have clear objectives, and I'm sorry if I'm talking a little bit like this is all common sense, but actually what I find is that coaches don't take the time to get this stuff right, and it's really important. And believe me, as a coach, I've made errors along the way where you come in and you think just how we play, the technical and tactical side of the game, that's the most important thing, and you just focus on that. All the rest will fall into place once we start winning. But if you get these things right, and you have clear objectives and a clear plan that's understood and it's progressed upon, then the players also see that you're working towards something and you're progressing every week and there's something to work on, and so they're never actually easily satisfied. And it's really important that these objectives are clear and easily understood. Something that I find really important, and it is something that I touched on a moment ago, that some coaches, they don't get right. They focus too much on the technical and tactical side of the game, and not so much the physical. Or they focus on having a really professional unit and a great culture, and they're physically really strong, but maybe they don't do a lot of technical or tactical work. Or they just do tactical stuff. So you just go out and you do only team stuff and don't focus on the techniques that are involved in being able to execute that tactical plan. And so in all areas of your approach as a coach, you need to make sure that you're addressing these parts of the game. And if you have a look at your training sessions, are you addressing those parts of the game? Do the players have the right attitude? Are they physically well prepared? Do they understand what it means to be an athlete of any level? You know, I've coached clubs and I've coached schools in Australia, and you try to adapt these principles for the levels that you have. You have clear expectations, and everybody is clear on it, then it's much easier to do. So there's two aspects of the game. When you've got the ball, when you don't have it. And so it's important that you have a good plan for when you have it and when you don't have it. And once again, that's your vision. And I find that's one of the really interesting things about coaching, is that you can make it up. When I was playing for Australia, we played with 4 in the back. Actually, we played 2 fullbacks up at the back. We played a left half, a right half and a centre half. We played a right inner, a left inner, and we played with 3 forwards. We actually said it's sort of like 5, 3, 2. And that's how Australia played. And we've won a medal for 6 Olympics in a row, so that's the way that you should do it, and we just have to do it well, and if we do, we'll win. And I was really on board with that, and that's how we have to play. But if you look at the most successful modern teams now, they're teams that can play a variety of ways. And Australia indeed is the team that's evolved, and the Australian men's team, the Kookaburras, they play man-to-man the same as the Germans have throughout their successful years. They play with 3-2, 3-2. Different styles, different ways. And I don't think that there's any one way to play, and I think you need to have a look at the talents and the skills that your team has and build a structure around that. And that's where it's really exciting as a coach. You can go, okay, this is what we're going to do when we have it, and this is what we're going to do when we don't have it. So with the ball, how do you want to outlet? Bring the ball out from the back. Do you want to do it with a 3? Do you want to do it with a 4 in the back? Do you want to do it with a 5 in the back? What are the players in front of those players doing? Do you have 2 defensive midfielders, 2 attacking midfielders? Do you have 2 strikers or 3 strikers? And do your players understand what concepts work against what style of defence? So I've written there situational outletting. So something that I do with my team is, I don't want to say to our side, we're going to outlet with the back 4 today against Korea because they play a really narrow press and we can use our upcoming outside defenders in that space on the outside. Because I don't know what Korea's going to do. They might come out and play completely different. I want my players to be able to look up, see how the team's defending, and pick the gaps. And not only the player on the ball, but the players off the ball need to understand where the spaces are and how they're going to exploit those spaces. And so the concept of situational outletting was born with our group, where we might even, when we're debriefing, have a look at, we just get the video, we set it up and say, okay, how are they pressing? What style of outlet should we use here? Play it. What did we use? Why did we use it? Did we look? And so once again, there's a briefing with clear objectives, and there's a debrief where we debrief those objectives. It's a really important part of the evolution of the team that you're always progressing. And once again, that might seem like common sense, but even as a young international coach, when I first started, I would have clear objectives, and I'd get to the debrief, I'd look at the game, look at all the things that I thought we didn't do well, and show those. This is what we need to improve. Didn't even refer back to the briefing, just showed them all the stuff that they could get better. Okay, yeah, I'll kick that off, next game I'll do that better, they won't make that mistake. But as you get more experience and you see what works and what doesn't work, it's really important you just get a couple of things right, and you keep working on those things until you nail it down, and then start to move on. So we just played a series against Korea in Australia. We played 7 matches. We had the same objectives for the first 4 tests. We didn't change them. And then we dropped one off in the 5th. I think we might have dropped another one off in the 6th and added another one in. We started to fine tune. So it's really important that we build the way that we want. So how would you outlet against this press? Where's the space? And once the ball moves, this is against Germany versus England. It's pretty clear. If you get the ball over here to the left, you can go up the sideline there, there's a little bit of space. But that could also be how England's playing. They might say, all right, we're going to push all the way across one side, we'll leave a huge space over the other side, the other team won't be able to resist that. When they get there, that's how we want, where we want them to be, and then we'll press them. So there's a couple of strategies going on. Still photographs, also really interesting. A lot of video, but stills are pretty, give a good picture, good learning tools. Outletting structures. This Holland versus Australia are in the World Cup final. This was our press against Holland. They play with the back 3 and midfield 4. The Dutch pretty much played the same way the whole way along. I don't think they worried too much about situational outletting. They just went, we're better than everybody else, and we're going to do what we want to do. didn't work for them. They beat us 2-0 in the final. Probably could have been a little bit more than that. Very good team with a lot of outstanding individuals. They play the back three, midfield 4, and then their front three like this, pretty much, and they move around. So, yeah, that's their structure with a wide midfield out on the sideline. It's pretty difficult to defend. Our strategy here was to try to stop the ball going into the defensive midfielders and let the ball go out wide to their lesser players. That was still very good. We just didn't march a powerman or able to be good at having the ball, so we tried to get it to go out wide and then stop them getting it from there. Did really well in the round game, but not as well in the final. Obviously, when you're outletting, you want to have lines that can link together. And to have lines that can link together, you don't just get players to stand in an area and say, this is how we're going to outlet. I want you to stand here, the other team is going to move, so you need to be able to move as well. And so you need to start to work with concepts about linking together and how you might move as the ball moves. And opposing movement we talk about quite regularly. And opposing movement is when the ball is running that way, going that way, we have players going the other direction. Yeah? Very difficult to defend. This is just an example of a game against New Zealand. We had a nice flow of the ball. So outletting with a 3 with 2 DMs in front. You see here the opposing movement and players in behind stretching and making it difficult for the other team. And it is important, I find, that when you're moving the ball, that you try and have options both sides of the ball carrier, both sides of the defender. So here, we want this player here, where my cursor is, can you see that? Yeah. We want to have an option out here, we want to have an option on the inside as well. Really important. As we go, it evolves, and once again, we want to have an outside option and an inside option. And so this player here finds it difficult to understand who she's marking. Is she marking this player, or is she going to worry about this player? At the same time, we want this player to be stretching to try and get in behind, so this player here has to look behind her. When she starts tracking on this angle, we want this player to come in. So once again, does she come with, or does she open up the line ball? And when we get into this zone, we want to make sure that our help side players are getting ahead. You've got ball side and help side. You don't understand the concept, it's just terminology we use in Australia. This is at the recent World League semi-finals against New Zealand once again. A really good example of linkages through the pitch. 3 with a defensive midfield 2 that play off each other. Opposing movement, tracking that way, moving this way across the pitch. In behind. So a lot of coaches say look for the ball, present, give your teammates an option. I say try and get behind and make your defender look where you are, so that just split their attention. And probably the only disappointing thing about this particular play was that she wasn't able to find this player in behind. I think in the end it all works out. Shot. Lock the ball in, so we have good refill. And then finish it off. So that's come from a 16-yard free hit, and I'll speak later about transition and about how most goal scoring opportunities are created. And rarely are they created from a 16-yard free hit. But this was an example of a good team structure working well. And so these are things that we might be able to show our players and say, this is how our structure works at its best. this is what it looks like. These are the things that we want to try to replicate in the future. And so it's important that you get that message across and they have good mental pictures in their mind about what the coaches expect of you, what they like to see, and so that positive messaging is really important. How do you want to enter the circle or create your attacking opportunities? One of the things that I thought Germany did very well in the mid sort of 2000s was exploit the baseline area. We call where the circle joins the baseline, the T point. And I don't know if you guys use that terminology. We call it the T point. They get people quite often to the T point. And when you get someone down there, as a defender, what do? Do you go and mark them on the T point? Or do you hold off and let them have that space? It's a question for you as a coach to answer. But if you go and mark over you at the T point, now you open up the centre of the circle. And if you don't, and they get the ball there and quickly go along the baseline, then it's really difficult to defend. It's really dangerous as well. And the Australians started using that to great effect from 2008 to 2012. As teams started to get used to defending that, then other areas of the circle opened up. And so as a coach, I think it's really important to understand where do you want to create your attacking opportunities from. It'd be great if you come straight through the top of the circle. That'd be perfect. You have shots just from right in front. Most teams tend to clog that up and they'll give you the fringes. But if you're going to do that, then what's your plan of attack after that? Those types of things are really important as well. On your set plays, we see a lot of teams work hard on their penalty corner attack, their circle attack, so if you've got a circle free hit or long corner attack, I think you can run set plays there. Do you have set plays? How much time do you spend on them? Are they effective? I think penalty corner attack, there's a few key things you need to be looking at to exploit your opposition. Once again, a still photo. So this is us against England at the Commonwealth Games. And so from here, on the second battery, where's the opportunity? So Maddie Hinch, she's slightly offset to her left. So maybe this is an opportunity. Click there. Maybe low here's an opportunity. Or this ball here for a deflection. These are the types of things we're looking at around where the opportunities are. We're coming from this side, how do they defend? Have a look at how they defend here. Got one less.